Charlie.
Kian.
Yo, Surge.
They really thought we were gone. We will be with you until the end of time. Welcome back, everybody. I'm not sure what episode this is, but we're finally back. Obviously, we are a channel. We're like, what can we compare ourselves to? We do something big and then we go off the grid for about a month, but we're finally back with NFL offseason content. And as I said, everyone thought we were gone. They thought we were going to college. It's not coming back. We will be with you forever. Kian McDermott, Serge Kadali, Charlie Nidell. We're back again. I think this is episode 12. I might be wrong, but today we will be going over a wide array of topics. We'll be going over our offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year predictions, our best and worst fits for rookies, teams we think are prepared to tank. We will be predicting each team's record in the NFC East and then doing some sophomore players prime for a breakout. Don't you guys worry. We will be doing a couple more podcasts before we are shipped off to college. And then who knows, maybe we'll be doing some stuff online. All right, so we're going to go right into it. And this is, I think, something that, although we haven't been recording, this is something that we were just talking about or players that we were just doing before we went off. And that's rookies. And we'll be going over offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year selections. Charlie, who do you have as your offensive rookie of the year?
My offensive rookie of the year, this is a risky pick because I think this could go really well and it could go really badly, but I'm going to go away from the quarterback position. I'm going to go to Bijan Robinson.
That's exactly what I have.
This guy has the potential. I know he's playing for a pretty bad Atlanta Falcons team, but they've done a lot of rebuilding this season. So while last season they looked bad, they're my favorites to win that division, the NFC South. So I think Bijan Robinson will be at the forefront of that. I mean, we're looking at a guy who's going to be one of the top rushers in the NFL and has the potential to lead, the entire NFL in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns this season. I think we could see this guy go for 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, some crazy, insane stat lines we've never seen from a rookie. Have a Saquon Barkley type rookie season. I think this could be an explosive player. That's my offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, and I agree. And I damn it, I thought you guys were both going to like Bryce Young or a quarterback, so I tried to stray away. I have Bijan Robinson also for all those reasons. I think again, I wasn't a huge fan. I love the player. I think the fit's good. It just, to me, it's so unfair to Tyler Algier, who had a quietly really good season. But again, I think unfortunately Bijan will be that 3-down guy. Obviously Algier will get touches, but I mean Bijan Robinson, we obviously saw coming out of college, a guy who was, again, I think the best running back we've seen since Saquon Barkley when he came out of Penn State. I mean, this dude's explosive, really good at kind of everything, really good receiver, really obviously fantastic rusher, hard to tackle. He kind of has all the attributes that, those top rushers we see come in. And again, a guy who I think is going to explode in the league, and he's in a division that's not very strong. So especially those divisional games, I think this guy can run a riot. Like you said, they've done some rebuilding, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I think you could be seeing a team that's the offense is on the field a lot more than we're used to seeing in Atlanta. But again, I think Bijan, to me, if you stray away from quarterbacks, is the out-and-out front runner to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think especially with an Atlanta Falcons offensive line that is very quietly, very underrated.
Yeah.
With guys like Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry. He could really be one of the most efficient running backs in the league. And again, the only thing that I think could be holding him back from a kind of insane top 3 kind of running back season this year is just the fact that Aligier is also in the backfield and he's going to get a bunch of touches, especially considering I believe he ran for 1,000 yards
as
well that season. So, but I definitely think that's a good pick. I'm going to go with Bryce Young, which I think is a bit risky because quarterback is one of the most hardest positions to translate from college to the NFL, and it's very difficult. But I think other than the height, Bryce Young is, in my opinion, the closest thing to a sure thing we'll see from a quarterback prospect. He is really just so intelligent, so accurate. Great playmaker. We saw that at Alabama, despite not having the weapons that you're expecting from an Alabama team. So I think he's completely ready for the NFL. And I think Carolina are going to win this division, the NFC South, a weak division, but I think Carolina are a team that are built well in the trenches, a team that they kind of added a few weapons. They might not be as bad in that department as people think, and I think Bryce Young is going to be that guy that from day one, even as a rookie, is going to elevate them. And I think if Carolina win the division and go into the playoffs, Bryce Young will win Rookie of the Year. So I have him as my offensive Rookie of the Year.
Bryce Young's a tough one for me because I feel like I actually don't agree. I think he's going to struggle in his first year, and again, I wouldn't be somewhat. Again, I don't think it'll be like a struggles his first year, give up. I think he's going to obviously most of the good quarterbacks get drafted first overall, you're going to a team that's not very good.
Carolina did trade up though, so it's not.
Yeah,
as
no,
bad
but
a situation.
I think Carolina traded up. I think I would argue. I was gonna say I would argue they're worse than the Bears, even though they traded up. But the Bears are very bad. That's a tough argument. Yeah, again, you lose DJ Moore. To me, it's the weapons. Obviously, you don't have McCaffrey anymore. You lose DJ Moore. I think you're looking. You got to get a good season out of Terrace Marshall, and besides that,
You got Thielen. They
Thielen.
did draft Jonathan Mingo in the draft.
Mingo was a guy who rose quickly. Thielen, I didn't love. I thought the contract was way too big for a guy who was not very good, or not like the Thielen we know the past 2 seasons.
Laviska Shenault's also
Laviska
there.
Shenault,
So.
Shai Smith.
Yeah, there's there are some
They're like
players
okay weapons.
yeah, but
I think it's not like terrible enough. Like they don't have NFL receiver levels. They just don't.
yeah,
have,
I just
like,
think for Bryce
a
Young,
receiver one.
it's going to be like a Trevor Lawrence. Like Trevor Lawrence was obviously very poor his first season. We saw him last year, fantastic. They go out, get him weapons. Again, I agree. Christian Kirk and some of those other guys weren't the ideal weapons we thought, or the weapons that are like those Calvin Ridleys who they now have, or going getting DeAndre Hopkins. But to me, for Bryce Young, I love seeing the young quarterbacks having those receivers that you know are good, the established receivers. Like, we don't know if Mingo's good. Terrace Marshall obviously has not made a name for himself. So, again, that's what I worry about, and I guess you could say it's a casual take. But Bryce Young, for me, not having those super tall, really good physical build.
I'd say Marshall kind of fits that physical build.
No, I'm saying Bryce Young himself doesn't have that
Bryce
physical
Young,
build,
yeah,
so it's not like not that he can't fend for himself, but if he takes more hits, if he has a smaller build where he's a little more fragile.
I think the offensive line will do a good job of protecting him, and more importantly, I would say a huge difference between Trevor Lawrence's situation as a rookie and Bryce Young's situation is that Trevor Lawrence had Urban Meyer as his head coach, and then Bryce Young's going in with Frank Reich, which is even though he did get fired from the Colts, he's still a great offensive mind, especially for a young quarterback. I think he's gonna. Again, I don't think he's gonna be amazing, but I think if he leads his team to the playoffs first year as a rookie, which I think so, especially in a division that isn't that strong. I think Atlanta are a solid team, but I just don't think it's that great of a division. So I think Carolina will win it. I think if they win the division, I think Bryce Young wins Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think where I agree with Keane on this one is I think Bryce Young will look really good. The eye test, he'll pass the eye test in this first season because we know what Bryce Young can do. Everyone knows it. I worry the numbers just aren't going to be there. Yeah. The numbers are going to be really hard to come by. I think this is going to be, even without Christian McCaffrey, a very heavy ground and pound attack because you have a rookie quarterback who's unproven and you have not great receiving core. You don't have a wide receiver 1. Adam Thielen is an aging wide receiver 2 at best. Yeah. I think this could be a very down season number. I could see Bryce Young not even breaking 3,000 yards this year. I can see it happening.
It's tough.
If he's healthy, I think he does.
I don't doubt the health. I just think that he might only throw the ball 18 times a game. Yeah, 20 times a game.
I think down the stretch you'll see him throw the ball more. I think
as they start getting more confidence in him, we will. But I think the first few weeks of the season, it could be 15 throws, 20 throws, just because this is not a very good offense.
Yeah, I agree. But I think this is actually where I agree with Serge. I think when you look at Bryce Young's player profile, he's a guy who, like, just because it's Bryce Young, like, he has the gunsling, he can place the ball anywhere. Like, for Mac Jones, for example, when he's going to his rookie year, it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't go 3,000 because Mac Jones isn't like a – he was, I guess, kind of an older style quarterback. Yeah. But I think Bryce Young, just the gunslinger ability in him will give him those 3,000. I think he would get 3,000 yards on most NFL teams.
I think the Panthers are one exception to that.
And I agree. I think that's a good point. I think, again, it's tough for me because I feel like there are obviously some receivers. Like Jonathan Mingo might be great. Terrace Marshall was really good coming out of college. He might be great.
Laviska Shenault,
really good, weapon. He's a gadget weapon. The offensive line, you have a really good tackle in Ikem Ekwonu who will hopefully be able to protect his ride line. Yeah, Brady Christian was really good. They have 2 younger tackles. So I think if you look at, I think that was a great point. I think he'll pass the eye test. But yeah, I agree. I think the numbers might not be there, but
yeah, I don't think he'll throw a lot of touchdowns. I think this is going to be an offense mainly based around trickery. Yeah. I think with a guy like Laviska Shenault in your offense, they're going to be using him. I mean, he's probably the most talented player in that offense. I mean, I'm not looking at Bryce Young.
Mingo. I do like Mingo.
But I'm looking at someone like Mingo and I'm looking at someone like Shenault, and I'm thinking there are going to be a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of designed wide receiver runs, screen passes, which may count for his passing yards.
A lot of RPOs we'll see.
Lots of RPOs, and I think Bryce Young the
Which I think
stats
plays
just
to
won't
his
look
strength,
pretty.
though. I feel like with his play style as a playmaker in those RPO systems, I think he will. Even with it, could be a situation like with the Giants where we know they don't have great receivers, but because of Frank Reich's
that's a good
But
point.
that's where I think that
Ability.
Bryce Young will easily pass the eye test, but the numbers won't look pretty, and that diminishes his
I
chances
don't think
at
he'll
winning
be
Rookie of
like.
the
I
Year.
don't think he'll be like that bad. No. I think he'll be a very.
I think we're both
agree
saying the
that-
same thing.
I don't think he's throwing 4,000. I don't think that.
Yeah.
But I think. I mean, he could.
I just think it'll be an
I think-
underwhelming number one overall pick season. I think he'll throw right around 3,000 yards, maybe scratch 20 touchdowns. I mean, maybe. I'm thinking he could have a season where he throws 1 touchdown per game and 1 interception per game. Like, I just think that could be something that
Yeah,
happens.
I think-
but I think we're both saying that. I think
Yeah.
you're both saying the same thing. It's just Surge is a little more.
I'm
I
just
agree.
more optimistic about
Yeah, I
the
agree.
Panthers' offense. And
I think at
Frank
the end of the
Reich.
day, neither me and Charlie obviously are not saying that this guy is going to be a bust, but I
No.
do think that it might be a little bit of a learning curve in his first season, which every NFL
could
quarterback
see it.
has.
So all it is, I don't think statistically he'll be good
Yeah,
enough to win
which is
Rookie of
fine.
the Year when you have someone like Bijan who could go for 1,800
exactly,
yards. That's
exactly.
where I just think.
I think a lot of it depends on how successful the Panthers and the
Exactly,
Falcons are
yep,
at the same time.
exactly.
easily.
But now we'll move over. We'll switch over to Defensive Rookie of the Year. We'll start with you first, Surge. We can go each say our pick. Or no, Surge, say your pick, say why. Who is your Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I'm gonna go a bit boring here. I'm gonna go Jalen Carter.
Okay.
Maybe that's not boring. I don't know, but I just think
That's not boring.
He's coming into a defense where I believe he probably will start. He's going to be the
Yes.
replacement for Javon Hargrave. I don't know how the rest of the NFC let the Eagles
Yeah, I
get
swear-
Jalen Carter,
yeah,
and
just-
when they have just so many amazing defensive linemen that they can just rotate in and out, Carter is just going to be someone who really he could be left one-on-one, and that is just extremely dangerous. I know the red flags like character concerns are something that could be a bit of an issue, but if what we saw on tape with him in college is what we see at the NFL level, he's going to be one of the most dominant players on the defensive side of the ball, and I think he will win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think I again, it's a pick that Charlie, you obviously saw our reaction on the live stream. As Giants fans, that was a pick that hurt a lot, and is going to hurt our quarterback a lot probably. But it's Jalen Carter. Me, I think it's obviously for the Eagles, it's a super big pro because you have so much talent there. But I think if you're solely looking at Jalen Carter's production, I feel like it's so talent heavy that it might not be like. I feel like it'll be hard for him to go and get a ton of sacks, because I feel like there's just so much talent there that it will be spread out.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't be surprised because it could be the kind of thing where they underestimate Jalen Carter. He's either on one-on-ones or sometimes he's free.
I just
But
think
yeah,
it's gonna be,
I like the pick because also he's a really good run stuffer, a guy who just moves players wherever he likes. But I think it's obviously that's a pick that you can't kind of say you're crazy for saying it because it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, makes sense. Jalen Carter was highly considered the most talented player in this draft class.
and he would have gone. I think he would have gone easily top.
Likely
5,
would have
top
gone in the
3
top 3.
Yeah.
With
Where I think Jalen Carter won't win Defense Rookie of the Year is I don't know that he'll get, and I'm agreeing with Keen on this one, I don't think he'll get the snap time to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think
do-
he might be
I
splitting.
do
think
see
he
that.
just with Jordan Davis on that defensive
Yeah.
line, and defensive tackles rotate a lot
that's true.
already.
No, I do
And
agree.
Jalen Carter was
it's-
rotating a lot at Georgia.
It's
also.
hard to win Defensive Rookie of the Year as a tackle.
The reason why I do think that he still will win it is because of the fact that we saw even with the crazy rotations, we saw rotations with Philly last year. They had like what 4, 5 guys,
Reddick.
10 sacks.
Yeah.
Reddick,
Graham.
Graham.
Was it Graham?
Maybe
Reddick,
not Graham.
Graham,
Reddick,
Josh Sweat,
Josh Sweat,
Hargrave.
Hargrave.
Yeah, they had multiple players
Yeah, it's
with
ridiculous.
sacks,
I
but
Fletcher
mean-
Cox, I think also.
Yeah, just oh my god, they also have Fletcher Cox.
yeah,
Oh my
it's just-
I just think that the
Jesus.
rotation might be a lot for Jordan.
I do
Yeah.
But I think in the snaps that he
It's
does take, he's going to
ridiculous.
get the most of it, I think.
Yes, I think.
But
I think
also
you're right.
actually think in somewhat he's been prepared for that because at Georgia,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
fantastic defensive line, and he was rotated in and out a lot and still stood out. So I think I actually am kind of coming around to that. I agree. My pick, and again, it might be Charlie's pick. I'm going even more boring. I think it'll be Will Anderson, and I think for me, he's going into a division that's not very good. I like the Jaguars. I think besides that, I think the Titans are going to be very bad. So I think Will Anderson to me I thought was the most talented player in the draft class. I think this guy could have a Von Miller-like career. This dude to me is absolutely fantastic. Here's the thing. Do you think that, hey, he doesn't have as much talent on the defensive line with him, that might be a positive? Oh, he's going to be the main guy. Or is that a negative? I'm taking it more as a positive. Again, I think this guy one-on-one, no matter who he lines up against, his ability to go from speed to power is some of the best I've ever seen. So to me, I think the production for him may be there more than Carter. So I think Will Anderson, for me, is my defensive rookie of the year pick just because of how good he was at Alabama. And the talent for me just screams.
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at odds for it, but I think, as it stands, Will Anderson is probably the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, considering he was the highest drafted defensive player. It's hard for me to argue against Will Anderson. I'm not going to pick Will Anderson just for the sake of keeping it interesting, but I think Will Anderson could have a very Kayvon Thibodeau-like first season.
Yeah.
Where I think he goes really quiet for a lot of the season, but you see the flashes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know he's going to be good.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to argue. I think Will Anderson's going to be a phenomenal NFL player. I agree. Von Miller-like career is very possible.
That's Hall of Fame.
But
level.
I think like Kayvon Thibodeau had a very slow start to the season, but you could see that the talent was there, and you could see it. And then Kayvon Thibodeau started to break out towards the end of the season, and then by year 2, you could see a really big jump for Anderson, and you could see one for Thibodeau too. I'm gonna go really. This is my out of left field pick for today's predictions.
I think I know you're gonna pick.
I'm gonna ask you a question first. What's your Super Bowl prediction? Like the two teams.
I have Bengals Eagles.
Okay, so that's not what you said to me last time.
Yeah, I changed it. What did I say to you last time?
I think that's a really tough one. I think it's very possible to Chiefs Eagles again.
I agree.
I think Chiefs Eagles again, actually.
Okay, who's your NFC North winner?
Lions. I have Lions.
Yeah, I think I would have Lions also.
So my out of left field pick for Defense Rookie of the Year is Jack Campbell.
Charlie, I was gonna put that. Me and Charlie think the same.
I don't think coming out of college, I was not a huge fan of Jack Campbell.
Pick,
I think he's a good player. He was my number 1 rated linebacker in the draft. Where I think that Jack Campbell is going to shine is in this Detroit Lions defense with a solid tackler. He's the best tackler in this class.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
I really came around him.
Massive.
I really like him.
He's fast. He goes sideline to sideline, and he is just an absolute beast of a middle linebacker. And if he gets the right amount of snaps, they don't have a strong linebacking core.
Yep.
I actually like the Lions.
But he'll be getting snaps.
They have solid players, but it's not this like super strong linebacking core where he won't get snaps. I think this guy could have 150 tackles.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
I think the Detroit Lions are going to almost dominate defenses on the offensive side of the ball, and then offenses are going to come out there and they're going to have to do something against the Lions. And then you're facing, I believe, 6'4" Jack Campbell.
He's huge,
and
he can cover.
This guy can cover ground.
Yeah.
I think he's going to end the season with close to 150 tackles. He could have 15 tackles for loss, multiple sacks, a couple interceptions.
Yeah.
I think this is my out of left field pick. I don't think Jack Campbell is likely to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I think he could have a really strong.
I really like that.
I
really like that pick.
I do like the pick. My one concern is that even if he does have that kind of season, I think it's very difficult for kind of linebackers to get that recognition, especially if we see a defensive lineman really break out. It could be a bunch of these guys because this is a very strong defensive
especially
line
Jack
class.
Campbell, who's he's not like a blitzing line.
He's not someone who's going to get a lot of
sacks.
I think he'll be a good player. I do agree. He could be. I think he'd have to have like not necessarily Fred Warner, but like Darius Leonard kind of.
I was thinking Darius Leonard type rookie season.
But even Darius Leonard, he's a guy who is a pass rusher.
He's more of a coverage linebacker, but I think Campbell's a big tackling linebacker. It's going to be hard for someone of that stature in that position to win it. He's going to
have to be very noticeable. I think he'll have to play.
I think he'll have to be noticeable. I think Carter and Anderson will have to not be, which I think is actually
possible. That's possible. Yeah. Again, like you said, Carter might not get too many snaps, and Anderson
he's beating out some great competition. And we haven't even talked about Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, Witherspoon I was close to putting.
He's going to be in a great secondary, but I think this is just my
Tyree Wilson could be great.
It's my out of left field pick. I think this
Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, this guy could be fantastic in his rookie season. So I'm just going to put it out there.
There are a lot of good defensive players.
Who knows?
There are a lot of good defensive players. But there we go. Those are our picks. Let us know what your guys' picks are. We'll move on now, continuing with rookies and doing more of who we think our best fits and worst fits are. We'll start with you first, Charlie. Who do you think is your best fit rookie going into the season?
It's a big turnaround for me after hating the pick on draft day. I do really enjoy the pick now. But Deonte Banks, I think, is the best fit in this NFL draft. And this is me trying to be as unbiased as a Giants fan as possible. Purely in terms of fit, I don't know that he'll have the best season. I'm not going to put him out there for Defensive Rookie of the Year right now. Purely in terms of fit, I don't think Wink Martindale could have been any happier with this pick.
Yeah.
This is a true press man coverage, really fast, really physical, big corner. And that's what the Giants defense is built around.
Yep.
That's exactly what they wanted coming into this draft, and that's exactly what they got. There's no press man coverage corner in this draft that's better other than Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah.
And that was a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
This was the best pick for the New York Giants at that spot. And while at the time I was not a fan, we ended up getting the players we needed in the second and third rounds to where that made the Deontay Banks pick really effective and a really strong positional fit. This was exactly what the Giants needed.
Yeah, and as a fellow Giants fan, again, we were both like, I did not like. I liked the pick more than you did. I liked the pick.
I think we were
more
both
than
just
you
a little
did.
confused with the pick.
Yeah, but I kind of knew it would be corner, and I think the board fell where Banks was, I guess, the top one. But I mean, looking at the Giants' defensive scheme, it's like a match made in heaven. Like I think a team who runs 47% man coverage, which is very high. A team who, and not even that, like relies on their corners so much. And a team that we've seen, like Darnay Holmes, Julian Love, like the secondary players were guys who obviously aren't, top end guys, but we've seen have so much production because that this team really forces their corners into kind of, into roles that are big in the defense. So I love the Deontay Banks pick, a guy who I was saying pre-draft, built in the lab, very good size, really good stature, a guy who can tackle. Just, when you look at coverage corners, a guy who I think is fantastic. So I really like the pick. I think the fit's great. I couldn't agree more with that one.
Yeah.
So it's a good pick. My best fit is Jordan Addison to the Vikings. Here's the thing. I think when you look at, to me, this is the closest Stephon Diggs replacement that you could get. I think they're a super similar guy who will really route you up, really good route runner, separation specialist. And I think when we were looking at this receiving class, like there were the really fast guys, the short guys, Zay Flowers, obviously Josh Downs, like the smaller guys who are really good separation specialists, and the Jalen Hyatts, and then there were the big guys like the Quentin Johnsons. And to me, Jordan Addison was kind of in that range where I was like, first looking at his tape, I was like, I know this guy's really productive, was amazing, Biletnikoff winner at Pitt, but what's like his thing? And to me, it's just that separation. I think when you look at what Stephon Diggs is good at, like not really good over the top, not insanely, obviously really good route runner, but what Jordan Addison is good at is creating that separation. I think for the Vikings, that's going to be super important because you have Justin Jefferson, who's going to have another fantastic season. But I think the duo of them two, I think, could end up being the best in the league. So I love the fit there. I think you replace Thielen and Diggs kind of together there with Addison, who fits super well in the system, a guy who can run jet sweeps, can be a little bit of a gadget player. We saw him do that with Caleb Williams at USC. So I thought it was a really good pick, and I think a player who I think will shine because you're going to obviously have a ton of attention on Justin Jefferson, and a guy who, if he's matched up against cornerback 2s, cornerback 3s, will route them up and create a ton of separation.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think Jefferson, Addison, KJ Osborne could be one of the best receiving corps in the league very, very quickly, and I think – again, like you said, him going one-on-one is really, even as a rookie, I think is a recipe for disaster. When you have Justin Jefferson on that other side, where obviously you can't leave him one-on-one, even against the best. So that I really like that pick. My best fit, and this is one that I know is a bit controversial, I have Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
The reason why I love this pick is it's not really necessarily for right now this year, because I know obviously he is someone who is coming in very raw, someone who's not expected to be very good from the start. But the reason why I think he's going to be such a good fit is I just think he's going to, when he does when we see that progression, we're already seeing how coaches really love Anthony Richardson. They're really satisfied with the pick. He's going to be someone that when he grows into being someone where I think he will be at an NFL level mentally, he's going to be an absolute monster in Shane Steichen's offense.
Yeah.
Because we saw really where he used, again, kind of that RPO kind of style offense with Jalen Hurts, where he was just so good with his legs, and obviously was really good from the pocket as well. And Richardson really kind of bodes that kind of player, someone who's got a really great stature in the pocket, someone who can stand tall, really kind of withstand pressure, like we saw from Jalen Hurts, although he wasn't under much pressure. And then we saw, obviously, he is someone who can obviously be an absolute force on the ground, really hard to bring down, really fast for his size. I remember like the 10 out of 10 RAS score for a quarterback. So he's one of the best athletes we've ever seen at the quarterback position, giving Shane Steichen, a guy who's already so good with Jalen Hurts, who's, again, also an insane athlete, but Richardson with the potential to be even better as an athlete. I just love the fit, and I think it's something that where over time we're gonna see Anthony Richardson develop in the system, and he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league under Steichen. Even if you don't think he's that great as a you don't like him because of his floor. No one can doubt that his ceiling is among the best quarterbacks in the league. So I really like.
I mean,
that pick
even
there.
pre-draft, everyone was talking about how the fit with the mock drafts.
Yeah,
Everyone was like,
I
the
just
Anthony
not
Richardson
a lot of
Colts
people
fit.
saw once Richardson kind of started rising the boards after the combine. Everyone was talking about how Indianapolis are a team that really it just makes sense for given the head coach hire. I thought they were going to take Will Levis. A lot of smoke was around there. But I always thought Richardson was the superior prospect and the superior fit for that team. So I just love that fit there.
Yeah, I thought the fit's great. I think the ceiling, again, a guy
Ceiling is crazy.
You know, pre-draft also I was so high on Anthony Richardson. I think it was a very good pick, and I think if you're investing in the future, that's the guy to go with. I think starting him week 1 is I actually don't hate it.
I think
because what I've seen in OT, what I've seen from his training clips has been pretty good. He's looked accurate.
It is training camp. I mean OTAs, but at the same time, I think his running gives them a really good ceiling, especially for an offense where they're not going to say, okay, you just have to stand in the pocket and throw.
Exactly.
They're going to let him play to his strengths, which is running the ball, and that will make, even if he is a really subpar passer to start, it's going to give them a bit. It's going to give them a threat that almost most teams don't have.
Exactly.
So that's
if you've been watching the channel for a little while, you know my thoughts on Anthony Richardson.
Go check this over.
I'm aware of the floor being low and the ceiling being high, but I just don't like the player. Like, I just don't think he's going to be that good. I'm aware he's got this, like, insane body with great arm strength and great running, but I just don't like him that much. I think that at his size, it actually makes it slightly more of a disadvantage, his running ability. And that's because I think when you look at the best runners from the quarterback position in our current game, you've got Lamar Jackson, who is considerably smaller.
Yes, that's true.
Jalen Hurts, who's even smaller than Lamar.
No, but Jalen Hurts is like really like built. Like he is.
But he's
strong.
like 6'2".
But also Josh
and
Allen.
Kyler Murray, who's
Josh
super
Allen.
small.
Josh
But
Allen.
Josh Allen is not fast in the way that Anthony Richardson is fast. He does not run the ball the same way that Anthony Richardson runs the ball.
Well, I think we also see Cam Newton also. I mean, I know he's like doesn't play anymore, but in his
And
prime, he's one
Cam
of the best
Newton
running.
got injured and his career's over.
That is true, but he had a
I
good
don't
career.
like
He had
the
a
way
good
that Anthony
career.
Richardson runs the ball at the quarterback position.
I think
I think it only hurts his career path.
I don't think so. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand obviously the concerns with him taking hits, but that's the concern I feel like with all running quarterbacks. I think you have to obviously make sure that especially in his rookie season, I think you have to prioritize him saying, hey, don't go in with your shoulder. This team might not be very good anyways.
That's the problem, and I don't think that that's something that we saw talk about more big running quarterbacks. You got Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is, I'm going to say it, one of the best running quarterbacks in today's game. The top 3 running quarterback in today's game. I think
top 5.
Top five definitely. But Daniel Jones in his rookie season kept getting injured. He would take hits and hits and would.
But
pick
that was
up
a lot
injuries.
more down to his inability to feel the pocket collapsing, and he took a lot of hits
on the
that's
run
true.
when he's leading with his shoulder, leading with his head, which are just not
That-
smart
that's
things
an
to
issue.
do.
I do agree.
Another big running quarterback, Carson Wentz, concussion after concussion, and is no longer
Carson
a good
Wentz wasn't
quarterback
really
in this
that
NFL.
big, though. Carson Wentz.
Massive.
In
I
terms
believe
of size,
6'5".
Carson Wentz is a big dude.
Carson Wentz is a huge quarterback,
But I think we've seen Anthony Richardson do it. I think it's
but he's
different.
doing it at Florida. He's doing it at the college level.
I don't know. I think
where
that's-
he has only been doing it for a couple of years.
But none of
but
these
the
quarterbacks,
where
it's impossible to compare these guys to Anthony Richardson because we
Yeah,
haven't
it
literally
is impossible.
athletically we haven't seen an Anthony
But
Richardson.
with
ever.
Anthony Richardson being even more athletic and even more of a different player, it leads with even more
I
risk.
think it'll make him even more durable because we see Josh Allen. Even he takes a bunch of hits and it's still stupid. I
But
agree.
a guy of
he
his
doesn't.
size can take those
He can
hits
take
more.
those hits. We see it.
But
with
I
Josh
think we look at, like, this is would you agree, a supernatural athlete?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
We look at, and I'm going to
Ridiculous.
compare to another
Definition of that.
sport, but Zion Williamson is a supernatural athlete.
I think it's
Injury
He also
after
got fat.
injury.
that is true.
He didn't get fat. It's all muscle on his body.
No.
And
Yeah,
it's the
but
same-
he
is a
got
lot
overweight.
bigger than Anthony Richardson, and it's a hard comparison. But we look at these supernatural athletes, and they just have a higher. I'm not saying it's destined to happen. There's
That's a
just
good
a
point.
higher risk.
I think it is.
I see it kind of.
but I
At the
think
same
that's with
time,
every
basketball
quarterback
and
that
football is a kind of.
No, I agree.
No,
I think-
and that's where it's just.
I actually like that. I think that's good. But I think with every rushing quarterback, like that's always every
always a
quarterback
risk.
that comes in, it's always a risk. Like, don't be stupid. Like Joe Burrow, who didn't know how to slide. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna get Anthony Richardson is gonna get, like I hope
gonna
he
get
doesn't, but Anthony Richardson will get injured. Like that happens. But I think for a
every
guy of
quarterback
his
does.
size, can take more hits. And again, like obviously every NFL coach, you'll go and you'll train them. So this is when to slide. Don't try and get the extra yard if there's a safety, coming down the barrel. Like let's.
But that's
Even
a
if Ricker
hard
could
message.
take that.
That's
Yeah.
a hard message to engrave in his brain because he knows that he can take the hit.
Yeah, and he probably will.
And he will take those hits, and that's just where I'm concerned. If he can learn to, conform his game into a, Daniel Jones has started sliding and getting out of bounds, and Josh Allen does the same
Yeah.
thing.
Josh Allen,
Not as
really.
much.
I
but
still think
Josh
Josh
Allen
Allen is a bit reckless.
Yeah,
but-
but-
but
And
he's
Josh
able to
Allen
take those
is one
hits
of the
because his
concerns
strength.
is that Josh Allen's career may be shorter than someone like Patrick Mahomes, who is smarter and gets out of bounds. And that's where I'm concerned with Anthony Richardson. I think he could still have an explosive career, explosive and short potentially, because a lot of running backs have short careers, and we're looking at a running back.
Ooh,
We're
That's
looking at a
take.
running back.
That's a take.
Maybe year one.
Yeah.
This
But I
guy
think
is
we're gonna
built
see-
like Derrick Henry, and thrust at the quarterback position.
But he's
This
also
is-
got an absolute bazooka.
Yeah.
He does.
His arm is ridiculous.
It's insane.
For
I
his-
think, we saw, and this is just one play example. We saw Justin Fields take a snap as the running back and took he took a halfback
Yeah,
toss
yeah.
and took it 60 yards to the house.
Yeah.
Because he's just built like a running back. He's got the talent to play quarterback, and I think Anthony Richardson has the arm to play quarterback, but he's built like a running back, and it just concerns me that he's going to do too much on the ground.
Could be.
Could be. We'll see.
We'll see.
I do see. I see it. I see it kind of. But I think if he does stay healthy, he's a perfect fit for this offense. I would say.
Now, who do we think are the worst fits? I started with Charlie. Did I start with you for the best
Yeah,
fits?
yeah.
Okay, Serge, we'll go to you.
I was between two. I'm gonna say what I said to you guys. I'm gonna say Darnell Wright. And again,
Okay.
I feel like it's hard to say worst fits because I feel like all these teams really drafted for fit, especially
Right.
in a draft where it wasn't considered as strong. So you're drafting not really who you like. You're not really drafting a star athlete, even if they're not really a great fit in this offense. But I would say I just don't really like the Darnell Wright pick when there were better options.
I love
available.
the pick.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's a bad player necessarily, but at 9, I think, or maybe 10. It was 10 because they traded back one spot. But either way, I just think, especially them trading back and getting only like a 4th-round pick and extra 4th-round pick when they could have had Jalen Carter. I think you could have had out of the other
Yeah.
offensive linemen, you could have had Skaronski, you could have had Broderick Jones, could have had.
Well, yeah, there was
No,
definitely.
those mainly those two, but I don't know. I think he's good, but I think he does definitely he definitely does I think get some benefit from Tennessee's offense where it was kind of a lot more very short dropbacks for Hendon Hooker, and it was a bit he didn't really have like there wasn't really I feel like the same stress put on him as a pass protector as we saw those other guys, and I also not really as big of a guy as Broderick Jones, and obviously he's bigger than Peter Skaronski. But Peter Skaronski is someone who I think is the best lineman in this class as a whole. So I just would have gone those two. I didn't really hate a lot of picks in this draft, though, to be honest.
Yeah,
but if
I
I
agree.
had to say, that would be the one that I would say.
Yeah, so my one is Quentin Johnson actually to the Chargers, which I think is, I guess you could kind of like or dislike that, but for me it was just you just didn't need I think he's super talented, but I think if you were gonna go receiver, go Zay Flowers, go Josh Downs, trade down to go get one of them. I think you don't need another. You're getting another Mike Williams. You're getting another
Although
super
I
tall
will
receiver
say,
who's I know he's
I
really good
agree.
after the catch. I know a lot of people love that, but I think there's a certain point where you need a smaller gadget receiver and let your bigger guys go do the thing. Because now you just have 3 really good targets, which I know I'm sounding like, okay, why would you not want that? I think the offense will be great. I'm not saying Quentin Johnson won't be good, but I think in terms of fit, I just don't think it was a player that they necessarily needed. I think they would have benefited a lot more. I think Zay Flowers would have been a really good fit there. I'm not sure. The Ravens may have picked before. I'm trying to remember. I don't think they did.
Ravens were pick after.
Pick after, yeah. So I think was Addison on the board also?
Yep.
Yeah, I think like going a guy like Addison, going a guy like Zay Flowers.
I do
would have
agree
been
with
a
Quentin
smarter
Johnson
pick.
over like other guys like Jordan Addison or because I think they needed that speed element. And Quentin Johnson does provide that, but I do agree in the fact is that they might. I mean, Zay Flowers is someone who does project though as more of a slot guy, and you do have Keenan Allen as kind of that big slot. It's tough. I do agree, but I would.
I think it's actually there's actually a good point. When I was looking at worst fits, I was like, I think all these picks were like I don't think there was any like horrendous picks. So it was a tough one. But I think in terms of just dimensions to the offense, I wouldn't necessarily say it adds a new dimension. It just adds more talent. Like if you get a Zay Flowers, it adds a new dimension to the offense, which obviously take it how you will, but. That was my one. Again, not a very good argument for that. Because I had Quentin Johnson, my wide receiver 1. I really liked him. But I just think in terms of just, talent on the board, I think you could have added a different kind of way to play that offense. So that was my take. But, Charlie, what is your worst
If I had to pick one individual player, it would be Mozzie Smith, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's good enough for that pick. Like, I don't think I had him graded high enough to be the 26th overall pick. He's not a first-round player. I don't think the Cowboys really added much by grabbing Mozzie Smith.
I like him as a run stuff.
But if I'm picking, my real pick here is the Patriots in general. I think Christian Gonzalez was fantastic that he fell to 17. But the Patriots had 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, didn't draft a wide receiver with any of them, and then traded up for a kicker in the 4th round.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And like a kicker who's not that good.
Who is it?
Super accurate, but does not have a big leg. What's his name?
I think it was a Georgia kicker, right?
Was it the Ohio State one?
Yeah, it might have been. I'm not sure who it was.
Chad Ryland.
From where?
It doesn't even say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I mean, trading. I think a kicker in the 4th round, unless it's like an incredible, like it has to be a really high level prospect.
I don't understand the Patriots draft strategy at all here.
I mean, I guess they did draft. Kicker. They drafted a Tyquan Thornton last year. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster free agency.
Oh right.
They had 6. They had 6 picks in the first 4 rounds to go without a receiver.
I kind of see where they're going, but I do agree that they don't really have that kind of.
They have nothing.
Really high caliber.
If they want Mac Jones to be their franchise quarterback, which I'm assuming they do, it doesn't make sense. They're not drafting receivers. They're not drafting offensive line. Like it's not right. Yeah, something's wrong in that organization right now.
Yeah.
And
the Gonzalez pick was great. That was a good pick.
Yeah, they got lucky that he fell to them at 17.
Yeah.
If he wasn't there, I think they would have gone with some crazy outlandish pick. They might have taken the kick in the first round.
Flowers. I heard that they were.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But we will move on now to some overlook into the next season. Who do we think are teams that are prepared to tank? And I'm talking tank for like a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. Like, who do we think teams that are like, okay, this year's simply not going to be our year? Serge, I'll go to you first. Who do you think?
I have a few names in mind. I'll just name one just for the sake of it. I think I'm going to say the Los Angeles Rams. That's one we've seen. A team that Stafford still
just coming off injury.
But they're really kind of shedding a lot of talent. You can kind of see this is a year where they don't look like they want to contend this year.
The Super Bowl hangover is
I think
crazy.
But it honestly would be worth it if they got Caleb Williams to go to a Super Bowl, completely collapse the next few years, and then you get Caleb Williams. I think the only reason why I don't think they will get the number 1 overall pick is because they have Stafford, because they have Cooper Kupp, because they have Aaron Donald. Because the rest of that team is just...
I think they're too good to tank for it.
I don't think they're too good. I think those players individually may be too good that they'll just win the games by themselves.
Yes.
But other than that, the team is just... It's
bad.
There's nothing.
There's Jalen Ramsey is a Dolphin. The team is not good. I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't... Yeah. I agree. Unless you want to add to that. My team is the Cardinals. I think... I guess it'll be based off this season.
Kyler Murray being out half the year is really gonna.
I think, and again, I think it's just even this year you could argue to go quarterback, but for me, I think it's a Cardinals team that is so disappointing in my opinion because I think you had Kyler Murray, you had Hopkins, that should have been a Super Bowl contending team, or at least a team that's making playoff runs. So I think if you add a guy like Caleb Williams, that team is set. I think they, who knows? I wouldn't, because they're weird. They're not in like a full rebuild, but Kyler Murray is like, and you just gave him a huge contract. So that would be the one thing. Like Kyler Murray got a ton of money, so they may be like, okay, like we literally can't move on from him. So I think they kind of put themselves in a crappy situation there. But if I'm them, I'm taking Caleb Williams over Kyler Murray every day of the week.
Yeah, I was gonna float the Cardinals name to the top of the list because I think that. They just drafted Paris Johnson, which I think was a great pick.
Yep.
They did some great business on draft day, drafted Paris Johnson. I think where it's weird is if just say Kyler were to miss the first 9 games of the season, I think this team could be 1-8 through those first 9 games because they are so
what
terrible.
Was his injury? Is it ACL?
ACL, yeah.
Right.
And I think they'll send Kyler out there for the second half of the season and say, like, try and go out there and win as many games as possible. Because if he starts winning games, they don't need to draft a quarterback.
But I think no. Here's what I think. Here's what I think. I think if they start off that season like that, 1-8, 2-7, they're gonna shut Kyler down for the rest of the season. Just tank to get Caleb Williams and trade Kyler.
Yeah. Just make sure he doesn't re-injure anything. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you'll be fully recovered. We've seen that he has that at times he can play like a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Last year.
Yeah.
Or was it
the beginning of last year?
He was like an
last
MVP
year.
candidate.
Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And I think he'll eventually get back to full strength.
Jeez, that was 2 years ago. So our sophomore.
But I think that this is an organization that's not going to want to get rid of Kyler Murray.
I think they do though. I mean, they're
I think
offloading
they
a big
want
contract.
they
They're
want
getting
to do
Caleb Williams on the
everything
rookie
they
deal.
can
They've
to
got
keep Kyler
good
Murray.
receivers. I actually think they would if they start off the season as bad as I would project them to start. I think there's a very viable chance that happens.
Yeah.
But I no. But where I disagree is I think that it's going to be easier for them to keep Kyler Murray. They just gave him this huge contract. They keep their first-round pick.
It depends on the demand.
Instead of using it on Caleb Williams, they have Kyler Murray and a first-round pick.
Yeah. Go with Marvin Harrison.
And I don't think they're going to be able to get much value for Kyler Murray if they try to trade him after Kyler Murray tears his ACL, then gets benched for the whole season to recover.
Yeah.
They're not getting value for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get a first-round pick for that.
No, they'll definitely.
Yeah,
I don't think that after what happened to Le'Veon Bell,
way.
I don't think they'll get a first-round pick for him.
No, that's different. Difference between a running back and a quarterback.
Sitting for 2 years straight.
It would be 1.5 years.
When
that's a lot of years.
And that would also be maybe what if he does come back and does re-injure himself?
Yeah.
That's nightmare. I think that's
but
the
I think that
for the Cardinals.
It's going to happen no matter what team he goes to. He's going to get injured.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
his whole career he's been riddled by injuries.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I guess.
But we'll move on to now. We're do some record predictions. We'll be doing this on the podcast. We're gonna go NFC East. We have a tie to the NFC East. I think it's a really interesting division. Obviously, a ton of history and a division that I think has some very good teams this year. So we'll go through each team. We'll each say our record, then explain why. Starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles. What is our record? Just say a record. We'll move down.
13-4.
I think the Eagles will go 12-5.
I agree with Charlie. 13-4.
13-4. Okay. I actually I hadn't got a chance to look at their schedule. It's not the easiest thing. I think they'll split with the Giants.
Harder schedule. The NFC East has the hardest schedule.
Right, I know that. I mean, looking at it was very hard. I think they'll split with with the Giants. I guess you could argue that. I think the Cowboys, they might split. I think they'll sweep the Commanders, but it's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
But again, it's a team that is just
so tough schedules
good.
are not as tough when you're the best team in the NFL.
Exactly.
It's like I think they did a good job in free agency too.
Yep.
I think they lost some really key pieces.
Yeah, losing
Javon Hargrave, Andre Dillard, Isaac Sumalo, T.J. Edwards, Marcus Epps, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those are some big names they lost. But I think they did a good job replacing them. Terrell Edmonds, they re-signed Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, James Bradbury. They grabbed Greedy Williams, Justin Evans. I think they did a good job in free agency. I think overall it was a slight trend down without looking at the draft.
Yeah.
But then in the draft, they added Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Kelly Ringo. This is going to be a good team again next year.
Not to mention DeAndre Swift and
DeAndre Swift. This is
Penny
going
also.
to be a good team next year.
Yeah, it seems I think that the O-line, those are some bigger losses. I think Dillard's a great player. Samalo's a good player. Those are some.
I mean, Dillard was a backup, but I think that's
once Lane Johnson came back, Dillard was back on the bench, so I don't think it's as big of a deal. But he's a good player.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're gonna need either Cam Jurgens or Tyler Steen to really step up in.
Tyler Steen.
Yeah, I like
this. They're like 8 deep at offensive line.
But I think the Isaac Samala loss can be bigger than some people are expecting it to be.
But Tyler Steen's a great player.
I do like him, and I do like Cam Jurgens as well.
Yeah. He'll move to guard, so it'll be.
All right, what do we think the Giants' record will be? Let's see if me and Charlie have the same one here.
Giants, I think 11-6.
I have 10-7.
10-7 also.
Yeah, that's again. The Giants have a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule. I think they could start. It's tough. I think I'm so excited to watch that. I think is it Thursday night or no? They don't open the season.
No, we don't open the season. But
I think it's
Yeah.
Sunday night is the game.
I think
'Cause
we open
Monday night's
Sunday
the
night,
Jets,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's a
Jets Bills. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I think we open on
exciting
Sunday
opener.
night.
Yeah, it is. You
So the
do.
Giants, that game I think against the Cowboys is a big one because I don't know if I've ever watched a game they've beaten the Cowboys. In
Yeah.
The past.
What we haven't done is beat the Eagles.
Yeah, but when was the last time we beat the Cowboys?
Cowboys, I feel like it's been more recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a long time. I can't remember when the last time we beat. So I think if we beat the Cowboys, the Giants go and beat the Cowboys week 1, I think you're looking at a season that could be. I think that's the setter for the season. Like that's the.
I agree.
we beat the
trendsetter.
Cowboys 2021, so 5 games ago. They've beat us the last 4 times we've played,
Yeah.
and then 8 times before that or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the Eagles we haven't really stood much of a chance against in the last
The
few
Eagles
years.
are tough, and I think we'll split with the Eagles. Again, it's a Giants defense that's very good.
Yeah,
Very, very
it
good.
is. And I think the Giants, I have them at 11-6. I could totally see 9 wins, 10 wins, 11 wins, 12
Yeah.
wins. I think the
As long as
sky
we're
is the
above
limit for this
500.
team right now. I think we have to get out of the mentality. As a Giants fan, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've been in the mentality like we're the underdogs. We're not a very good team. We have to get out of that mentality.
Yeah, that's
We
good.
went to the NFC divisional round
Yeah.
and then got crushed by the Eagles, who went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which I just don't even think is that bad. It was a really good
It was
season.
a really good season for.
We
a
just
roster
signed
that wasn't
Daniel
that
Jones
great.
to a massive contract, and a lot of people don't like it. I get it, but he had a fantastic season last season.
Great season.
I am 100% okay with this contract we gave him,
Yeah.
considering the season he had last season.
Yep.
He was fantastic. I know his passing numbers didn't look great, but we won games.
Yeah,
and that's what
all,
matters.
That's all that matters.
Keep as much of that team as you can. That team's going to win games. Just add to it, add to it, add to it. I think this is a team that could definitely win 11 or 12 games this year. The crunch games will be against the Eagles and the Cowboys. Those are going to be the big ones.
Jets
If
is
we
a
can
huge
split
game.
against the Eagles and Cowboys, this team has the chance to win 11 or 12 games.
12
Easily.
I think they'll get swept by the Eagles, but I think they'll split with Dallas this year.
Yeah.
I think I have them 10-7. I think they're going to be a good team. Like I said, I already talked about the defense. I think the defense will be really good. Offense, again, Dable's just a mastermind. He's going
Yeah, he
to
is.
get the most out of his weapons. And now you actually added, I feel like last year was a really concern. Do they really have NFL caliber, like really good, like good enough weapons to really be a okay team? And this year I think they've added to that with Darren Waller, who I think could be
Yeah.
a huge piece in that.
Jalen Hyatt.
Adding Jalen Hyatt, adding Paris Campbell, an underrated
Yeah.
addition as well. And you have Isaiah Hodgins. You're getting back Wan'Dale Robinson. It's better. Again, I still don't think they have that receiver one.
Yeah.
Maybe Waller can be that kind of as a big slot, but I think the weapons are definitely better. And they're like overall they have like a lot of good receivers, which I
But-
think with Dable that'll help a lot.
While I agree with you, there's no wide receiver one on this team. Like I can say that on the record. It's
Yeah.
common knowledge. I think that the way the Giants play, they don't need one.
No, I
Yeah, yeah.
well,
I think with-
you could always use one, but I
no,
agree.
no,
I
your,
agree.
your team is
I
always
agree.
better with a wide receiver one, but I think the Giants situation, Daniel Jones does not throw the ball very often. It's a ground heavy attack. I think the biggest concern for the Giants right now is the Saquon
Saquon.
Barkley contract situation, which I think
Yeah.
will get sorted out.
Yeah,
That
they have
has
to.
to.
It,
has
it
to.
will get sorted out. But I think that the way that the Giants offense operates, they don't need that wide receiver one, especially the way towards the end of last season they had Isaiah Hodgins just stepping up.
Yeah.
Random receivers here and there would just step up and act as that wide receiver one for a drive. Isaiah Hodgins had some massive catches.
Yeah.
Darius Slayton had some big catches. Sterling Shepard in the beginning of the season had some big catches.
He'll be back.
Paris Campbell will have big catches. Darren Waller will act as that wide receiver one, especially considering I think Darren Waller will play a lot of the season lined up as a receiver
Definitely.
because Daniel Bellinger had a great
exactly.
Yeah.
I
rookie
think
season
Bellinger's
as a
a
tight
great
end.
rookie season.
I think Daniel Bellinger
will.
will line up mostly as the tight end, fluid with the line, and then Darren Waller will step out into the slot or
Yeah.
step out wide. And I think that'll be the Giants wide receiver one. If they're going to rely on someone in a big moment, and it can't be Saquon Barkley, it'll be Darren Waller,
Yeah.
where I
Yep.
think they don't need a Justin Jefferson in this team. Obviously, it's helpful to have, but it's not a necessary piece for this offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why they also didn't pursue Hopkins. It's
Yeah.
not. They have a bunch of different skill sets. They have a bunch of different guys.
Yeah, I
who
think
can
it
play
would've been a
roles.
waste.
I do
Hopkins
really,
might
even
even just
fit
mess with the
that.
team.
I
the
do
fluidity.
really like actually the more I think about it, the Jalen Hyatt pick because
Yeah.
I think his speed is something that really could fit the
Just opens up the
it
field.
opens up the field. And I
Yep.
think one of the main concerns with Hyatt is that can he play against press coverage? Will that be a problem? Well, with Dable, he's going to be someone who's really
Exactly,
gonna
yeah.
scheme him in ideal situations, and he's going to be able to really use his natural talent and something that really
Yeah.
I don't think the Giants.
But
have, so.
where I love the Hyatt pick, I agree. I think what Dable and Kafka did, like they masterminded this offensive
Yeah.
team unit, is the fluidity.
Yeah.
everything is fluid. And Jalen Hyatt just added that deep threat. John
Yeah.
Michael Schmitz added that center position. He will jump in straight away day one.
Yeah.
The fluidity on this team, I think DeAndre Hopkins would have messed with that fluidity. I think it would have screwed it up.
I think he still would have been good. I just think obviously you don't pay DeAndre Hopkins what he's
It would
asking
not have
when
been
he's
worth the
asking.
money.
Exactly,
I agree.
yeah.
I do agree with that.
What do we think the Dallas Cowboys record?
I'm really high on the Cowboys. I really think.
Oh.
Oh, I am. I think they're a great. They're
Serge
What?
goes, oh.
the way you're like oh yeah, is that a bad take?
No, he
no,
goes,
I-
oh, and then you go,
Yeah.
oh.
I am though. No,
So what-
they're a really complete team. I do have them. I have them a smidge above the Giants. I have them 11-6.
I have them at 8-9.
I think they're a really good team. I just think they're another team where I don't see them with an actual weakness. I really like the addition of Brandon Cooks, kind of as that. I think he'll be one of the better receiver twos in the league with CeeDee Lamb there. You have Tony Pollard. You have a great offensive line. Dak is a good quarterback. He's top 10 in my opinion, like kind of borderline top 10. And then you have that defense where you obviously have Micah Parsons. I actually did like the Mozzie Smith pick there, where I think it gives them a much better run defense. And I think I like DeMarcus Lawrence as well. That secondary, adding Gilmore, him and Trayvon Diggs is a great duo. I think this is it's a great division. I really like Dallas. I think they're among the best teams in the league.
What do you
So
think,
I would
Charlie?
say them 11-6. The reason why I don't have them better is just I don't think their coaching is that great. I think Dak does. It's a bit of a concern.
I think this is one of the most overrated teams in the NFL.
Wow.
I think Dak
Yeah,
Prescott's
I
one of the
just
most
don't
overrated
like
quarterbacks
Dak.
in the
Yeah,
NFL.
I
I think
just
Tony
don't
Pollard
like
is one of the
Dak.
most overrated running backs in the NFL. I think CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks are good. They lost Dalton Schultz, who was a massive piece in their offense. I think Trayvon Diggs is one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the NFL. Stephon Gilmore at this point is one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the NFL.
Just going off.
This,
on that.
I don't think this team is that good. That being said, they will win 9 or 10 games because, being overrated, I just mean they're not the best.
Yeah.
They're still. I don't think Trayvon Diggs is a bad cornerback. I don't think Dak Prescott is a bad quarterback.
Backing up here, backing
But
up
it's
here.
just, I think that this team, while they may win as many games as the Giants, I think I'm gonna say 9-8. I think they might even sweep the Giants. We just never beat the Cowboys.
I'm even lower on it.
But I just think that this is an overrated team. I just don't think that they're that good. They don't have that fluid offense that we were just talking about.
I think a lot
don't
of it
like it.
depends on how well these new picks adjust. I think losing Kellen Moore is another thing that I really don't.
Yeah.
A lot of Cowboys fans didn't like Kellen Moore. I thought he was a good. Coordinator for this team. I think he was a bit overhated, and I think that could be an issue. But I just think talent-wise, this team.
I also lost Connor McGovern at guard, who was very good last year.
but-
Dalton Schultz at tight end.
I don't know. Those aren't.
I think those are bigger than.
I just
They're
don't love
replaceable.
Dak.
Good thing.
All the
Yeah,
time.
I
just don't
I
really
think
like
it does
Dak.
come down to.
just
I
don't
think
really
Dak
like
is a
Dak.
good regular season quarterback.
Yeah, that's
No, but I
true.
think when it comes down to a game-winning drive, there's no one I wouldn't rather have than Dak Prescott.
Really.
I mean, Dak
You'd
Prescott,
rather have Dak over like Zach Wilson.
starting quarterback.
starting quarterback. I think Dak Prescott's the kind of quarterback who will put up 40 points in a game,
Yeah.
but only when the other team put up 45. Their defense, for all the big names they have, consistently sucks.
They were a good defense last
They
year.
consistently let up more points than they're scoring. Their offense, for all the big names that they have, consistently
I
score
agree it
less
was
than
an
the other
overrated
team.
Defense. Everyone was talking about like best defense in the league. That's a bit crazy, but
I
they
just-
were a good defense.
I feel like this team gets into too many shootouts for the players they have. They just don't have
I think
that
down
many
the
good
stretch, I do
players.
agree, but at the start of the season, they were a good defense.
I agree
think-
with Serge. I think Dak is a very good not that the games don't matter, but when it's on the
Regular
playoffs.
season. I
But
think
again, what we're
playoffs is
talking
a
about
good
is
season.
record, which is the regular season. Like we're not talking about the playoffs. So I do think that the Cowboys are able to, inflate that record and then just, fall in the first round. But we'll go now to the least interesting one, which I'm sure we'll get by
Least
quickly.
interesting.
Not least interesting, but a team that we don't really know. I think it'll be Sam Howell to start the season. We'll each share a record, then we'll explain what do we think for the Commanders. What will the Washington Commanders record be?
I honestly don't even. I want to like the Commanders because I really like a lot of their weapons, but I just think the NFC East is just too
Cool. What's your
difficult
record,
for-
though?
Okay, 7-10.
I have 6-11.
6-11.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't know.
I don't think they've built that better roster. I think signing Nick Gates was a great signing
Yeah,
from
I
the
just
Giants.
think it's not ready to compete with any of these teams.
I like
in
the
this
receiving
division
core. I
yet.
like McLaurin. I like
Yeah.
Dotson. I like Samuel.
I mean, this team will go 1-5 in the NFC East, so it's tough to.
Yeah.
I don't know who
yeah,
they'll
sure.
beat, but they will be one of the three teams.
Yeah, I think
Probably the
they'll beat
Giants,
Dallas.
potentially the Cowboys.
Dallas,
Hey,
yeah.
I think it'll be Dallas.
This team will be 1-5, maybe 2-4 in the NFC East, potentially 0-6, and then I feel bad for the Commanders because they finished 8-1 last year, but the other three teams finished even better,
Yeah.
giving the NFC East the toughest schedule. And the Commanders aren't going to be able to do much about it. This is not a good team.
It's not that it's
I
not good.
like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, it's not that it's not good. And think about it, they do obviously great defensive line. The secondary, who they obviously Emmanuel Forbes, who has been fantastic. I like Sam Howell. People are saying he's been stepping up as a leader. You know, we liked him last year in the draft. So I just don't think when you look at again, just going over each of these teams as we're doing the record, I've just noticed how good Dallas I forgot about. I just think Washington aren't on that level.
I was just talking about a few days ago, like there are a lot of good teams in the NFL. Like I don't even look at the Commanders as a team that are a pushover at all. They'll give a lot of teams a great game.
Yeah.
I just think the NFC East is just really, really strong, and I think like Charlie said, when you're going 1-5, which I think they'll go 1-5 in that division, it's gonna be really tough for them to kind of, string together a run where they can be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and back to what I said, I don't think this is a bad team. Yeah. I just think that all the teams they're going to be playing against this year are going to be better than them.
I agree.
I mean, just looking at their schedule, the Cardinals in Week 1, the Commanders are better. Broncos in Week 2, Commanders are probably better.
Yeah.
Bills are better. Eagles are better. Commanders probably beat the Bills. The Bears. I think the Falcons are better than the Commanders. I think the Giants are better. The Eagles are better. The Patriots is a close one. They play the Seahawks, Giants again, both better than them. Cowboys, Dolphins, both better than them. Rams, Jets, Rams are potentially. But then 49ers and Cowboys are both better than them. Yeah. I can't see this team winning many more than 6 or 7 games. I don't think they have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. I think they have a better roster than 6 wins would show.
I agree.
They got unlucky with the schedule. Yeah, it's a tough schedule.
Yeah. We'll move on now to our last topic, talking about we've been very rookie heavy. We're gonna move on to some sophomore players who we think are primed for a breakout. I'll start with whoever would like. I can start myself. Why don't I start myself? I was going back and forth. At first I did Kenny Pickett, who I still think will be. I don't know if you guys saw the Big Ben clip. He was on a podcast and he was like, "Yeah,
oh yeah."
I was kind of rooting for Kenny Pickett to fail. Like not that I was rooting him to fail, but I just when you see someone replace you, you don't want them to break out.
First of all, that's bad. Second of all, why would you say that?
Yeah. And I think Kenny Pickett was next to him. Like he was on the show. With
him. He was.
But my player's same division is actually Daxton Hill for the Bengals. I think it's a safety core that obviously they're confident in. They let Von Bell, they let Jesse Bates walk. It's a safety core that the past couple years has been very good. Daxton Hill, a guy who from last year we both really liked. I think he's getting forced into a role where he's going to need to produce, and I think he will. Kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can play in the slot. He can play, outside. He can play safety. So I think they're very confident. Obviously, Daxton Hill must have showed them something. So I really like the fit there. I think obviously quick guy, smaller size. But I think when you look at what the Bengals are looking to do, obviously they're looking for a Super Bowl appearance, and they're obviously confident in their safeties because they wouldn't have let go of Jesse Bates, who I loved, and Von Bell, who was very good. So I think Daxton Hill was definitely an investment pick when they did it last year, and he's a guy who's now going to be stepping into a starting role. So I really like the pick. I really like the player. And again, it's more of like he'll be forced into a role where like he's going to have a lot of responsibility, and I think he's a guy who can go out and do something.
Yeah. Mine is kind of, I think it's a pretty common pick. I'm going to go Derek Stingley.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
He is going into a perfect situation right now where he's getting Demeco Ryan, someone who made Charvarius Ward, really, someone who was, he was a solid corner, but when he went to San Francisco, he was one of the best corners in the league that year. And then you have also, we've seen other 49ers coaches like Saleh really develop a great corners like DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner.
Yep.
I think Derek Stingley wasn't in that great of a position where he's playing a lot of off coverage, was like kind of not really in a defense scheme to his strengths, and now he's going into a much better situation now with Demeco Ryans. I think he's going to be someone who could really step up and prove he's I think he could get into that top 10 cornerbacks discussion this year. I think he's someone with all the potential in the world. We were talking about him as probably one of the best prospects in the 2022 draft, a little while back. So I think he is someone that really has all the potential in the world to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and I think he's going to take a huge step up this year.
Mine's also going to be a pretty obvious one. We were talking about this one earlier, but Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yep.
Again, I'm a Giants fan, so do with this what you will. But I think it's hard to disagree with this one. We saw what happened towards the end of the season for Kayvon last year. This guy could go out 15 sacks. I think pretty easily. I think like this is it's maybe the most likely breakout to happen this coming season.
Yeah.
We saw how good he looked against the Commanders in, I believe, week 17. This guy's, I think we're going to see a different force out of Thibodeau. He'll be our sacks leader, plus Dexter Lawrence on the inside. I think he'll be given every opportunity to shine this year. And with how talented he is, I don't think he'll pass up on the opportunity.
Yeah, I am very excited to see Kayvon Thibodeau. Guy, again, like you said, showed the flashes, played well in the important games, forced fumbles, got those forced fumbles, then recovered them for touchdowns. A guy who has all the potential. So very excited for him. But that will round it out, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Comment any other topics you want us to talk about. We'll be recording as often as we can. Once again, Kian McDermott, Serge Charlie, and Charlie Nidell. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram. We will be posting clips from this podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. So make sure you guys are following us over there. Thank you all so much for watching, listening. We'll see you next time.